All right, what we've been doing so far is we've been making our curry gnocchi box. We shaped it one day and let it get leather hard. We shaped it a little bit more yesterday when it was leather hard because edges just are more crisp once they're leather hard. And then yesterday your task was to hollow out the inside of the lid and to hollow out the actual box so that the walls were around a 1/2 inch thick. So you're going to get a chance to do a little bit more hollowing to thin those things out a little bit. You don't need to log on to the Google Meet right now, Sam. You can do it in a little bit. Thanks. So today's task is to add the flange. That's really important to do before your clay gets too dry because that flange is a really key part of making any sort of box. Because as it is right now, my lid seems like it's fitted, like it doesn't slide around tremendously, but that's because my clay is wet. The clay is sticking to itself a little bit. Once this is dry or fired, that lid is going to be so precarious. It is just going to slide right off of there. So you are going to have to add a flange today, and I'm going to talk about that. Typically, the flange needs to be added to the smaller piece. So if you cut your lid 2/3 of the way up, like I suggested, then your flange is going to go on your lid. If you're one of those people that cut your lid really low because you're doing a candle holder or an incense holder, then your flange is going to go on your bottom part if the bottom part is the smaller part. So you need to figure out whatever makes sense for you. Whatever is your smaller side is going to get the flange. So I'm going to set this back in the bag for a little bit. I forgot to grab a towel. Would you mind grabbing me a towel, like maybe off that table there, please? Sorry about that. All right. So you're going to want your towel because I want to set this down upside down and I don't want to risk denting my lid. Thank you so much. All right. So to make my flange, I need a coil of clay. So I set aside a little bit of clay the other day, and so I'm just going to grab a portion of that, and I'm going to roll my coil, and I want to try and get it, consistent if I can. But then to make it a more effective flange, I'm actually going to flatten it. I'm just using the palm of my hand to make that coil a little bit more flat. And then that is going to get scored and slipped around the inner edge of my lid. Oh my gosh, did I not grab anything that I need today? Good grief. Here we go. You guys are always my practice class. And then second hour always gets the really good demos. I should record their demos. All right, so I'm going to score and slip around the interior of that edge. My clay is dry leather hard. So the leather hard stage is kind of a continuum. And the dry leather hard stage is great for carving because it's really firm. The dry leather hard stage is a little bit less great for joining. Sam, can you come over and watch the demo, please? Yeah. So I'm trying to really make sure that that's scored really well. Okay, so then I'm also going to score down the length of my coil. And then that coil is going to be attached to the inside of my lid so that it sticks up just a little bit beyond the edge of my lid. Okay, see that from the side, see it from the inside. So I'm going to meld where the coils come together so it looks like one continuous coil. Then I'm going to meld the interior downward. So on the inside, we're not going to see a trace of that coil anymore. It's kind of awkward to get to with my hands, but I'm just trying to meld in there as best I possibly can. Okay. So now, there we go. That's my flange, and it might need some shaping. In fact, it's almost certainly going to need some shaping. Right now, I'm just kind of pinching it up to make it a little bit taller. Now I'm going to bring, so my hands are kind of sticky and sloppy right now, and I want to be careful so I'm not getting slip and things on the outside of my box that I've created. So I just tried to clean off my fingers a little bit on my towel. So now, ideally, this should fit neatly down inside there, which this doesn't yet. Obviously, it's not sitting down in there tight. So that means that there's a little bit of adjustment I need to do. So I'm going to, this is a little bit trial and error. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's worth it to have a really good tight fit. So I'm just pinching and bringing in that flange, because the problem was the flange hit the lip of my pot and it didn't fit inside like it was supposed to. So I'm going to use I don't have much for fingernails, but I'm going to use my fingernail to just kind of push that flange in little by little. Ooh, it's fitting a little bit better. There's a bit of a gap there yet, so I still haven't quite gotten it. So I'm going to bring that in a little bit more. And one thing you can also do is you can let this sit out for, 10, 15 minutes and let this get leather hard, and then you can do some shaving to make it a custom fit too. Ooh, there it is. There it is. That fits pretty nicely now. So that's what I want. Now, even though it fits nicely and everything is good to go, I am going to take that back out and let that flange set up for a little bit, because it is kind of sticky. And if I leave it in there, it might get stuck, right? Because this wet clay is going to reactivate the clay that's on the inside. So I'm not going to put it on there. Like after I test it and I'm sure that it works, then I'm going to take it back out again. The other thing I'm going to work on is the handle, because it's a requirement for you to add some sort of creative sculptural handle. So what I don't want to see is this, a little ball handle, all right? I don't want to see a little rainbow handle, okay? Because I see those 100 times a day. Like, those are not creative sculptural handles. So think about something that's going to go with the look of your piece, and then create a handle that's going to be interesting to look at, and it's not just purely functional. So when I was thinking about this kind of crystal rock thing that I have here, I thought it would be cool if I created additional crystals that are cropping up from the top. And so I made these little chunks about 30 minutes ago, and then I let them sit uncovered so they could get leather hard too. And then I'm going to take a butter knife. So you might need to look around your house and see if you can find an actual metal butter knife. This will come in handy if you're cutting holes in your project as well, if it's going to be a candle holder or an incense holder. But make sure you ask before you take this, because someone at your house who you need to listen to might not want you to use this tool. So just ask first. But if I'm going to make crystals, I can take this knife tool and cut edges into this leather hard clay to make it look like an actual faceted rock. And the nice thing is, there doesn't have to be a lot of precision in that cutting, because these little crystals, they really come in all sorts of different shapes. So that could be one little crystal, and I'll show you how these are all going to come together in my mind here in a little bit. I'm going to cut my second crystal. So I'm just getting a better cut because the clay is a little bit more dry. That's why I let it sit and dry out to begin with. If you think back to that video that we watched, there was that one person that made a beetle for her handle. You could add, for my other box that I've been working on in second hour, I'm going to make an eyeball because it kind of looks like a monster. I'll show you that in a little bit. So I'm just trying to cut and create this little cluster of crystals. Okay, so there's crystal number 2. These are a little softer. The clay is a little bit softer than I would ideally like for this, but we're working with it. What I might do is, my preliminary cuts now, and then my secondary cuts, like do some cleanup cuts when the clay is a little bit more dry. Okay. So now I'm going to put the lid back on just for a little bit so I can kind of get an overall sense of the composition. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to put my little cluster of crystals in an asymmetrical position. So I'm just going to gently stick them on to start with. And then if I like the placement of them, then that's where I'll score and slip them on. And I do like that placement, actually. So I'm going to take these back off. I'm going to do some heavy-duty scoring and slipping, again, because this clay is really, really dry. And I just really want to make sure that my handle stays on securely. So I'm going to stick each one on individually, scoring and slipping as I go. Yeah, so those definitely need harder edges. I'll come back and do that in a little bit once they're more leather hard, more dry. So that would work as a handle. You can put a creature on there. You can put another shape that kind of echoes your bottom shape, whatever your bottom shape is, sculpt a smaller version of that and put that on top. If you're doing a candle holder, this would also be the point where you would kind of map out and figure out where your cuts are going to go. So using a butter knife to do that, or if you can find a better tool for doing your carving, that's fine too. Just, of course, be safe when you're doing that carving. If you want to strongly advocate about why you shouldn't have a handle, and you want to talk to me about that because you just feel like the handle ideas that you can come up with just aren't really going to work with your overall form, just send me a message about that or send me a picture, and then we can have a conversation about it. Because there might be circumstances where the handle just isn't going to work for what you've created. So I'm open to conversation about it. Here's the other handle that I was thinking of doing with my other box. This is the one I worked on in second hour. Where does this lid go? There we go. So this handle is going to be a little eyeball. So I sculpted the eyeball. That's going to go on top. And then I'm going to do a pupil and all the features in there. And then that's going to get attached to the top. So it kind of looks like a creature. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm in love with that eyeball idea, but it's what I'm going to work with. I do like this crystal idea, though, so I'm kind of excited about that. To recap some of the things that you're doing today, you are putting the flange on whatever side is the smaller side of your lidded box. You are scoring and slipping a creative sculptural handle on top. You are going to continue to hollow it out if you need to do more hollowing out, including on the bottom. You might need to do a little bit of hollowing on the bottom kind of to make a foot, although it's not required to hollow out the bottom. You can just hollow it from the inside. And then finally, if you're going to make a, how does this go on? If you're going to make incense holder or a candle holder, you should cut your spaces today. Get those cut while the clay is still in that good, firm, leather hard stage. And you can do that with a knife. If you want circular holes, hey Kim, you can also do it with, you can set this, thank you, a pencil. If you want circular holes, the pencil will do a pretty good job of piercing through there and making those circular holes. So your assignment for today is to take a picture of your lid, because I want to see your flange and I want to see your handle that you've come up with for today. So you don't have to worry about taking a picture of this today. Just take a picture of your lid. Okay, so I can see it kind of like this would be nice. So I can see the handle and the flange on the bottom, and then submit that for 20 points by 10 p.m. and then bag this back up. All right, we can't let it dry out yet. We have some more work that we need to do. So bag it up tight after you've taken that photo. All right, so I'm going to stop recording.